All right. Hey, hey, hey. How y'all doing today? Y'all, it's raining here. So my background gonna be a little funky.
We're about to get that storm up here too, Lish.
Yeah, so I apologize in advance. Welcome to Let's Chat, y'all. Hey, y'all. Hey.
Welcome, welcome.
Yeah, listen. How was y'all weekend? Mine was busy. Child, listen.
As always.
Absolutely. I'll be doing a lot. But we have an exciting show today. We got 3 fabulous guests. Our first guest is going to be songwriter and singer. Yes. Let me tell y'all, my night's been late and my early's been early. Late nights and early mornings around these parts for me. But yeah, this is gonna be singer and songwriter GiGi Mack, who is from Detroit. Woo woo.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have the fabulous Silk White. Y'all know we love when Silk White comes in, so he's gonna come in and check out our new environment and give his silk approval.
I like that, Lish. You got to get his silk approval.
Yes. And then we have designer and stylist Mike Smith. He's going to be kicking in with us in the chat room. I'm excited because Mike just launched a men's line, and so I'm excited to talk to him about that process and just the life of being a stylist in the industry and being able to launch a design at the same time. I would think that would be very stressful. So I'm excited to talk to him and see what he wants to say and share with us about that. But T, y'all know, open this up.
Absolutely. Well, y'all, I know y'all surprised to see Lissha not here on this Monday evening. Just a little extra added treat this week. For all those that are new to what we do here on Let's Chat, welcome first and foremost. We thank you for joining us. But here on Let's Chat, Lissha and I first started our show as avid readers because that's what we do. We read. So we was mostly focused on reading. But now our show has evolved into so much more than just reading. We encompass all arts. whether it be reading, publishing, singers like we have tonight, designers like we have tonight. We have such a myriad and diversified uh, group of guests that have come through the doors of Let's Chat, and we thank them all. Now, we do it the only way we know how to do it, which is the royal way. And we love when our guests come on and share their passion with us, as well as our listening audience, because you never know who's out there that may be listening to this show and feel an inkling as to, I could do that. So we get to hear their passion. You may be passionate about them as well. And we do it in a fun, intimate, and friendly environment. So we hope you guys are all buckled up for this Monday night edition of Let's Chat. Let's get it
Absolutely.
popping.
Y'all, I literally got lights up in here, so I'm hot like tea. But I want to shout out to Nikki Turner for my fan. Because it be coming in handy. All these lights up in here.
Lights in the studio.
Absolutely. But we're excited. We're going to have our first guest. As soon as she checks into the chat room, we're going to bring her on and just talk that talk. Y'all, today I think we want to talk about environment and habit. You know what I'm saying? Okay. I think that we have certain habits that, especially this year, we've been able to focus on. And some stuff we got to get rid of, and some people we got to get rid of. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I think that sometimes we want to do the things that we want to do, but we always want to bring people with us, and everybody can't go. Right. They always say everybody's not going to be able to go to that next level with you, and it's absolutely true. It doesn't mean that you have ill feelings towards them. It just means that they don't fit in that level of your brand. And so sometimes everybody just can't go with you because, what's important to you may not be important to them. And everybody on your team has to feel that everything is important. You know what I'm saying?
You know something, Lissha? I understand what you're saying, and you're absolutely right. But I also feel that certain people are in your life for certain seasons. They're not necessarily there for the entire season. They may be there just for a portion of it. They may be there just to serve a specific point and purpose in your life. So like you said, not everybody is designed nor built to go with you the distance. And you have to be able to be okay with that.
It's so funny. That was in my mind, being okay with that, because it's a real thing. Because when you start doing certain things, you have to start making certain decisions. Right. And that's just the way it is. Whether it's relinquishing some of your power, knowing that you brought these people along for a reason. So if you're micromanaging, you're kind of setting yourself up in a process. Why are you micromanaging? Right. So all of that is really important when you're building and you're trying to
build your brand.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We want to welcome you guys to Let's Chat. As soon as GiGi Mack is in here, we're going to talk that talk with her and see her opinion, because she's been building a brand with a band. And, that's a lot of people at one time, a lot of personalities, especially in the music industry.
Right. And it's been a minute since she's been in the studio. So I'm sure she's been cooking a lot, as we say, in her creative kitchen. So it's going to be great to catch up with GiGi and just to see what she's been doing.
And being able to find your niche. A lot of people go into, even like literary world, they don't have a particular niche. You got to find your niche. You got to find your place and your position. And I'm excited to learn just a little bit about insight from someone else about understanding your niche and finding where that is and being okay with that. Like, you don't have to do what they're doing. You don't have to do what you see someone else do. Now, you can see what someone else does and you can say, okay, how can I add some of that to what I have going on? Is it addable? If not, don't add it. If it is, add the elements that are.
That's true. And also, Lissha, you may start off thinking that your niche is one thing, and you may get into it and you tweak it or twerk it or however way you want to do it, and find out that your niche is something totally different. You've learned it along the way. Well, like reading, I would have never thought that I would be editing at
I
this
know,
point
right?
So you go through seasons of finding those niches, and that's okay as well.
I absolutely agree. I think that, we always talk about making room for growth.
Right.
I think that we have to learn to make room for our own growth as well. Because we tend to limit ourselves. We always talk about being mindful about how we speak to ourselves, because we're always mindful about how we speak and talk to other people.
Right.
And then when it comes to ourselves, we're lukewarm. And you got to stop being lukewarm about yourself and the things that you want to do, because you teach those people around you to be lukewarm about you and the things that you want to do.
And with
you see what I'm saying? Right. You have those, I would say anybody around you that puts little in front of anything you're doing, your little book, your little show, your little project, that person is not going to go very far with you.
That's so true, Leash. Oh,
there's nothing y'all can do.
How's your little show doing? Really?
Right. There's really absolutely nothing y'all can do. Anybody that puts little in front of anything that you're doing, because that means that they don't see the value.
That thing that thing that you
do. Oh, you still doing that thing? What thing is that? I feel like Claire Huxtable at this time. Remember on Huxtable's when she was like, "What? You mean serve your?" Let me tell you something, Elvin. I'm not serving Dr. Huxtable. That's probably the thing that goes on in a restaurant.
So those are all signs that person may not necessarily have your best interest at heart, or even care about your best interest or what you're doing.
Absolutely. Right. And that's absolutely true. And so I think when you're building a brand, you have to keep that in mind, that everybody is not, they may be for you, but they're not for anything that you're doing outside of what they need you to do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's a whole nother different element, and things you have to think about when building, because you have to really have those right people around you to be able to build and grow, because I don't really believe that God throws blessings out of the sky. He blesses you with people.
Right.
He blesses you with people. That's why everybody is, like you were saying, is not here for an eternity. They're only here for a season, because God put them on your path for a certain amount of time. And then after that, it's time for you to move on, because he's placed you in ability to be positioned somewhere else.
Right.
The whole goal is to position you. And so I think that we have to start thinking about that. We have to start thinking about how we speak to ourselves.
And he also blessed us with discernment. So you have to be able to discern, what's best for you, what's not good for you, and who's good for you and who's not. So you have to tap into that discernment and be aware. You just have to be focused and aware on yourself.
Absolutely. Well, we have our first fabulous guest, and y'all, she is fabulous, y'all. She a whole diva and a half. Detroit's own GiGi Mack.
How you doing?
I'm celebrating.
I see.
And her birthday is tomorrow. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I'll be 50 years old tomorrow.
Y'all, this is what 50 look like. I'm trying to be 50 like that. When I turn 50, I don't want people to know I'm 50. I want them to be like, "Oh, child, you 50?"
I made t-shirts. That say I'm 50 on them. Like, I want them to know I'm 50.
You're proud of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you gotta let us know what you've been cooking in your creative kitchen and your musical empire.
Well, because of COVID, the musical empire is kind of at a standstill, because everything is closed where we perform. All of the corporate events that we have scheduled for the year have been canceled or postponed. So, can you see me? Okay, there I go. So, so music-wise, we've been trying to do a lot of streaming shows. which are good for us for the exposure, but unfortunately, people see free and don't tip us.
Right.
Really?
Wait, I'm glad you said that, because I've been, people have been streaming concerts like crazy. Like, you can check Charlie Murphy out. It's like Charlie Murphy be on for 30 minutes. He give you a whole show. And it's like, ooh, I have to pay $200 for this. And then you got Versus that Timberland and Swiss Beats have. So
right.
it's I think the one thing I can say about the industry is that they are learning how to pivot in their season. They're learning how to pivot in their season, because I do know that, like, D-Nice, he puts on his platform, sometimes he puts bands on his platform, and he puts in there, make sure that you tip them. And so there's a lot of cross promotion going on as well. So, and I understand, it's not just a free show. I mean, it's a free show, but
it's a free show.
At the same time,
right. We I don't know how many people were watching Friday night, because we did a live Friday night and it was very well received. We had lots of viewers. And only 2% of the population tipped.
Now, are they aware that they can tip? Are they aware that they can tip and to know how to tip?
Yeah, because I for like a week, I put up our cash tags. I even put out, like, if you want me to sing a special song or you have a song request, you put a little more in the pot. I'll do whatever you want. I'll sing your song. But I just think a lot of people see free and just think free.
And that's it.
But yeah.
And I think, again, they're not used to it. They're used to things online being free and limited. And then when they go to the concerts, they're used to concerts being $200 tickets, $300 tickets. And I think that, especially in this season, people have to learn how to change. 2020 is all about change. Everybody changing in 2020. And I think that they have to learn how to change with the times, that now that you see them live doesn't necessarily mean that you don't tip them. You still do tip them.
Right.
So you've had, for those who don't know who you are, if you're not from the Detroit area, then you don't know who the Fabulous, or North Carolina, you don't know who the Fabulous GiGi Mack is, but tell everybody just a little bit about your musical journey. Well,
I've been singing as far back as I can remember. So when people ask me when did I start singing, I'm like, since I can talk. I started my first band. I was like 14 or 15, and I wanted to grow musically, and I wanted to grow as a woman. So when I was in 2014, when I turned 44, I decided that I needed to leave Michigan and leave Detroit, because it was only my little safe place. So I booked a tour in North Carolina. I had like three dates on my tour. And when I got to North Carolina, I called home and said, I don't want to come home.
Really?
And so I went back and got my stuff, and I came back to Charlotte. Well, I came back to Greensboro, then Charlotte. But I just didn't want to be musically and spiritually, personally, I didn't want to just say that Detroit was all I knew.
Right.
So I knew it was time for me to go.
Did you feel you had more opportunity?
There's way more opportunity. Way more. I'm in a huge party band here. So we do a lot of touring here. It's because North Carolina, you can get to a lot of places. Like, I can get to Georgia in 3.5 hours. I can get to Florida, South Carolina in 30 minutes. I can get to Virginia in, I think, about 3 hours. So it opened up a lot for my world. In Michigan, 3 hours either way, you're really not going anywhere.
Really? Okay.
You're not. you made it through Chicago.
Ohio and Indiana. Ohio and Indiana.
Right.
Or you could possibly still just be in Michigan. I mean,
right. You could be in Michigan.
Absolutely. So how was that for you? I want to just talk a little bit about your goal moment. I want to go back. Because so we always talk about our goal moment, and normally we always try to talk ourselves out of things. And because we're mindful about how we speak to people and less mindful about how we speak to ourselves. So when you had the thought and you said you went to North Carolina and you were like, I'm not coming back. Did that thought come up previously and you were like, no? Go ahead, I'll say yes. We won't tell
nobody. No, honestly, it did because I have 3 kids, and my youngest son, when I left, was going into his 2nd year of high school. So I did have a lot of turmoil within myself about actually leaving there and coming and going anywhere. But I knew I had to, for myself, I knew I had to. So I did have a don't go. I mean, hell, I had a don't go. I had so many opportunities when I was in my late teens, early 20s. So many. And I was afraid to leave home.
Wow. So let's talk a little bit about that because, you know, fear, the fear of doing something really blocks us. Like nobody can stop you from doing anything you want to do, but that fear that you have within yourself, that is something that can block and stop you from doing a lot of things. How are you able to get over that fear and speak to yourself and say, Angie, listen, this is what we got to do and be okay in that decision? Because I know you said you had a lot of turmoil, so you had to get that fear under control and say, listen, I got to do this.
Actually, if my friends didn't exist, they were like, he'll be fine. If my friends didn't exist, I think I still would be going, I don't know. But I did get to a certain point that fear was no longer even in my vocabulary. The fear of the change, the fear of moving. It's like it all just happened and I didn't even have time to be afraid. Once I decided to do it, I just did it. And now the only time I'm fearful of things is maybe like now when I'm in front of the camera talking. And like our live show the other night, I was very afraid because I have stage fright. I was very afraid the first like 2 songs because I knew the camera was looking at me. But now I'm basically fearless when it comes to making a change or a move for the betterment of myself. Because I know that the better me I am, the better me I'll be for everybody in my village.
Absolutely. Let me tell y'all something about this one right here. This is the freest, fearless person that I have probably met when I moved to Detroit. And I moved to Detroit in 95 after I graduated. And so talk about fearless. To me, you have always been fearless. Always. Strong and fearless in any and everything that she did. So when she said stage fright, I was like, where's Sway? Because I have seen her perform. Literally, I have seen her perform. She sung at my wedding, but I have seen her perform, and I don't know what it is. She like a whole new, like, hey, listen, it's just there. Superstar diva in the mix right there. But just being able to know strength and have, like we were talking about, having those people around you. Everybody around you we know can't go with you. And everybody around you only wants what's best for you as long as it's convenient for them. And so being able to see that strength being displayed around me, for me, was a great thing. And I think a thing that I needed to be able to see that you can have kids and you can do this and you can do whatever you want and still have all of that. And still have a hold of it, and still it still functions. You know, everybody is doing something. Everybody is doing something productive. Like, y'all, she a fearless hustler right here. This one right here. Yep, she is.
So, Lissha, remember when I first moved, when I first came down here, before I even decided I wasn't going home, and I was doing my shows on my tour, and I would tell the story of, you know, making a move at the age that I was. So I would have women coming up to me after my shows, telling me I was basically their hero and I was a trailblazer. Because to get up and leave when you're in your 40s, that's not really something you do. That's something you do in your 20s. That's something you do in your early 30s. That's something you do when you're single. That's something you do when you don't have kids. So I didn't even realize what I was doing. I didn't think it was any kind of major movement, but I had so many women coming up to me, you know, just telling me how much I touched them by telling them the story of how I left.
That's interesting. I just want to know, you know, you've come a long way, and you're at a point in your life where you feel you seem like you're happy. What would you tell your 20-year-old self or 25-year-old self that you know now, just to kind of prepare yourself because you've gone through those steps?
Well, now I would tell my 20-year-old self that she was awesome. I would. I would tell my 20-year-old self to leave Detroit. I would tell my 20-year-old self, you're not gonna die.
To not
if he breaks up with you, you're not gonna die. Take you're not gonna die.
You're gonna be all right. Trust me, you're gonna be all right.
It's not the end of the world.
It is not the end of the world. I promise you'll breathe again.
But it's so true that I think that, you know, when you're younger, you think everything like the end of the world. It's like,
everything.
Oh my God. It's so dramatic. Like, oh my God, what if? But I mean, if you just think back to all of those what ifs, if you think back to all of those times, all of those situations you didn't think you would ever get over, all of those relationships you didn't ever think you would get over, and then you kind of look back and you're like,
what? Wait, really? Because I think I've been dying since I was 15. Like, I'm gonna die. I would tell the 20-year-old Angie. I would tell the 20-year-old Angie to take care of Angie. That's what I would tell the 20-year-old Angie.
And not be fearful of the unknown.
Yep. And to not be fearful of the unknown. I would have people say, like, auditions that I blew because I froze up. Because I didn't know how awesome I was. I mean, I still deal with that because I'm human. Right. You know, so some days I think I'm really awesome, and other days I'm like, eh. But I'm putting this lip gloss on and keep going. But there were lots of times when someone would say, sing a song, and I would be in front of someone that could make some moves for me, and I would just freeze up, or I wouldn't know what song to sing. And it wasn't even, now that I'm older, it's not even, I didn't know what song to sing. It was fear. Because the confidence wasn't there. I didn't have a lot of people telling me when I was 20. I had my peers saying, oh my God, you sing your butt off. But I still didn't feel, I knew I could sing, but the confidence wasn't there to do it in front of people on the spot. Like, it had to be something I practiced 35 times before I could just come and do it in front of you and just pick a song. So I definitely would tell her that she was worth everything that God had planned for her.
Mm-hmm.
And to not block those things.
Mm.
That's what I would tell her.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, she wasn't gonna die.
Because fear is powerful. It can really cripple you from really seeing your own self-worth, you know, and put doubt in your mind. Like, can I really do this, or should I really be doing this? So fear is power. It can have a powerful hold on a person.
For a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Fear and comfort.
Yes.
Yeah.
Getting out of your comfort zone.
Because a lot of it is comfort.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
So you go, like people who've never left their neighborhoods, people who've never left their city, people who've never left their state. They're just comfortable.
Right.
Where they are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we have to break.
Yeah.
We have to break that comfort.
Mm-hmm.
Like there is a street beyond 7 Mile. That comfort. You can leave. It'll be there. I tell my kids, you can go wherever you want to go because you can always come back home.
Mm-hmm.
No one, you're not ever going to go, well, I remember that time I left and had that wonderful life and then I came back home. You ain't going to be doing that. You're going to be going, I remember when I left and I had that wonderful time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came back home.
The emphasis is cool.
Right. So basically that's what I tell her.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the process, you've changed as a woman, you've changed as a mother. How have you grown as a musician outside of handling your fear?
So now, I mean, well, you never knew I was afraid on stage. And I did. But musically, I've grown because I've learned how to, I lead my band. I have to make executive decisions. I've grown vocally, my stage presence, because I've taken the power that I realize I have. I use it now instead of shying away and trying not to use it, because that's what we do. We try to diminish our shine.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm putting my shine on everybody. Like, nope, I'm still shining. So musically, and I've also opened up musically because here I'm doing a lot of background vocals for other people, for other bands. Like I don't care. I don't feel like that's beneath me. I feel like that too adds to my strengths. Because you learn from everybody who you can work with and work around.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So to think that even someone that's under you that doesn't have the experience that you have, they may know something that you don't know because they're looking at it from a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I can listen to my 24-year-old daughter, who's also a musician. I can listen to her when she tells me something and put it into practice because she may have a point. I could be overlooking something.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I've learned that I'm teaching a lot of younger musicians, a lot of younger vocalists, things that I didn't even realize I was teaching them. I've had people's mothers come to me and say, can you teach my daughter stage etiquette? And I didn't even think that was a real thing that just comes naturally for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I've grown quite a bit, and my musical circle has grown, but it's also stayed small and tight.
Mm-hmm. But you know something, Gigi, with this pandemic that we've been hunkered down for the last 3 or 4 months, and you talk about different perspectives, how have you looked at yourself and your musical career differently and see where you can grow or make changes, just reflecting on the time that you've had by yourself?
With us, I know now that we have to, do these live streaming shows. I also realize now that I was so busy. I was supposed to be writing all this time and recording an album. And then I kept saying, well, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. Or I can't write today. And now we're actually working on the album. As a vocalist, I've had time to sit down and really listen to music and not be in a rush. And yeah, because I don't even like listening to music all the time. And I know that probably seems strange because I'm a musician, but sometimes I just like quiet. But during the last couple of months, I've been actually listening to like every instrument, every background vocal, every octave, every note, everything. I've been listening and learning and practicing things that I never even paid attention to in songs.
Wow. So you see and hear it in a different way, whereas you didn't, you may have just taken it for granted before. Now
So before I was hearing and now I'm listening.
Right. There's a difference, hearing and listening.
Right, exactly. And I think that, now we're required to be focused. We're required to pay attention to a lot of things. So I think for now, it's easier for you because some of that background has been tuned out and you're able to horn in on your craft and sharpen that and make that better. Which will make everything else you have going on better. But, it's funny because she says it. She sung at my wedding and my uncle did the music. So my uncle lives in Michigan, in California. And it was just like, just for them to just be across over 2,000-3,000 miles away and be able to make music. And her to know what note, and him to be able to hear, and I love the art, and I love people's gifts. I love their creativity. I love to see people create and see them in their creative environment. And when you see her in her creative environment, she's so super dope. I'm sorry, Auntie Bar. She's so super dope. Just to see her in her creativeness. And it's inspiring because you know that when you see it, you know that you can do it.
Like we say, you know what you know because you know it.
So if you had to drop 5 jewels on somebody that said, I'm about to go and sing, what would those jewels be?
Practice. Practice. Listen to constructive criticism and don't take it personally.
Right.
We're creative, so we're a little tender. So you just have to, because before, when I was younger, because that's also something I've learned to do, but I've learned to do that over the last 15 years or so. For someone to come and tell you, if you're singing your face off, and then somebody in your band comes and lets you know that you really weren't singing your face off.
They're like, listen, you was off key for like 10 minutes.
Right. So you can go home and cry, but tomorrow I need you to remember that was constructive criticism, and you need to. Because that was me. If my guitar player at home, right now, still, I'm 50 years old, and he can still make me cry.
Oh.
But now I know that that's for the betterment of me. That's not to tear me down.
Right.
And he hears something else that I don't hear.
Right.
So he's not trying to hurt me. So I would tell that is really a jewel that I'm giving. Take all the constructive criticism. Now, all criticism is not constructive.
Right.
But you'll know the difference between constructive criticism and just somebody that's hating. You'll know. You will.
Discernment.
So practice, practice, practice. Do your scales, which is still practice, and accept the constructive criticism.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Other than that, if you think you're dope, even if you aren't, because there's a lot of entertainers that can't sing worth a doggone, but they think they're dope, and that personality and that attitude carries over into everything they do. So if you think you're dope, rock with that.
That builds that confidence as well.
Yeah. Rock with that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't question yourself. That's really, I think, all I have on that.
So tell us what's next for GiGi Mack. We know you got your album that you're working on. What's next for GiGi Mack?
We're gonna be doing another live in probably the second weekend of August.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, I don't have any live performances scheduled. So I do have to get out here. So that would be something that I would say as a nugget or a jewel is don't become complacent.
Mm.
Do not sit in your greatness and just wait for things to happen, because you have to go out and make a lot of things happen as an entertainer.
Right.
They're not just gonna come knocking on your door.
Right.
Yes.
You gotta put yourself out there.
Mm-hmm.
So right now I'm working on the album.
Relevant as well.
Yeah, you gotta stay relevant,
Mm-hmm.
because they will forget you.
That's right. Easily. There'll be a replacement, right? Waiting for you to just become complacent, to step right on in there.
Your replacement is your background singer.
Right. But at the same time, like you were saying, that talking about fear, because people will say the industry is saturated. You know what I'm saying? And they don't know that you have your own signature that you put on whenever you do something. And like you were saying, your attitude, those things that you are, that becomes your signature.
Lissha, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say with the glam stop and with GiGi Mack, and I always tell people, like, nobody else can beat me.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter which of my businesses it is. So yeah, 15,000, 1,100 million people make t-shirts. But nobody makes t-shirts like I do.
Show them your t-shirt.
Oh, this is one I got on right now. Hold on. Right there. And I made this glass. Can you see my glass?
I love that. That is so dope.
That's nice. That's nice.
So thank you. So no one else can be me. No one else can be you. I can do a podcast, but I can do it like you.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Everybody has their own individuality, and that's what makes them unique.
And we can all still be great. We can all be great at the same time.
Exactly.
Right.
It's enough greatness out here for everybody.
That's right.
That's right. You're not gonna run out.
Right. It's not going anywhere.
We so appreciate you coming to just take some of your birthday time and kick it with us and talk that talk with us. Make sure that you shout out all of your social media. If people want to get t-shirts, tell them where they can get your t-shirts from. And I know you have an event you said coming in August. Where can they stream that at?
That I'll have to let you know. We're trying to find a platform that's not free. So I'm still trying to find an app for that. But you can reach me on Instagram. I am GiGi Mack, which is I'm GiGi Mack. Lissha, you know what these are because I think you set them all up.
Yes, I did.
The shop is the Glam Stop Shop on Instagram. On Facebook, it's just GiGiMack.
And she got a business page too, y'all.
Yeah. For the Glam Stop and for Instagram. I mean, and for GiGi Mack. But I do. Lissha used to handle all of those things for me.
We so appreciate you. I appreciate you. You always are pouring into me all the time. All the time, y'all. Y'all just don't know. She always pouring into me and encouraging me. So I appreciate you for that. Thank you for coming to kick it with us. We want you to come back when you
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
When you have your album, we want you to come back and sing a little tune for us. And when you're live, make sure you tag us so that we can share it as well.
Okay, I'll do that.
Thanks, Gigi. And I appreciate you as well.
Thank you.
And I'll talk to you soon.
You too. Take care.
Bye.
Okay. Bye, girl.
Bye-bye.
She's amazing.
She is, y'all. She's so super dope and super inspirational. We thank you guys so much for coming to kick it with us here in the chat room. Remember, this Friday, you'll be able to check the replays of Let's Chat on Ebony TV. We'll be under the podcast and we'll be listed under there. We're so excited. You can also make sure you check out our YouTube. Like, subscribe, hit that little bell so you can get a notification. We appreciate you guys. If you've missed any of our shows, if you're just tuning in, welcome to the chat room. Make sure you head over to Blog Talk and check out our interviews. Also, you can catch us on iTunes, iHeartRadio as well. And really any podcast app, you can check out Let's Chat. We appreciate you guys. And we're going to take a brief break, and we will be right back with the fabulous Silk White.
Okay.